Hi everyone, we have a very fun looking problem with us today. So let's jump right into it. We have two circles of radius 1 meter each sitting on a flat surface. The circles are touching at this point here. In the area formed between these two circles and the flat surface, there is a square which is also sitting on that surface. The corners of the square are touching the two circles. The question asks us to find the area of the square. If you want to solve this problem on your own, pause the video right here because I'm going to tell you two ways to solve this problem right now. Let's first label the side of the square as x. Then the area of the square is x squared, and that's what the question asks us to find. Let's put it right here. Let's draw a line from the center of this circle to this corner of the square. Let's draw another line from the center of this circle to the flat surface. Because the flat surface is tangent to the two circles, we know that this angle is going to be a right angle. Because both of these lines are the radius of the circle, we know that both of them are going to be 1 meter. Now let's drop a perpendicular from this corner of the square to this radius here. And that means that this angle is also going to be a right angle. Now since this is a rectangle, we know that this line segment is also going to be x. And if this is x, then the remaining line segment is going to be 1 minus x. Alright, so now we have a right angle triangle here. And if we knew the length of this side, then we could have applied the Pythagoras theorem here. So let's label this side here as y. So how do you find the value of y? Well, one way to do it is to make the same constructions on this side. So let's do that. Now this line segment here is also going to be x. And we know that y plus x plus y is equal to 1 meter plus 1 meter. And that will give us another equation. Alright, now let's write down these equations and get solving. The first equation we have is 2y plus x equals to 2. Let's subtract x from both sides, and that gives us 2y equals to 2 minus x. I'm going to box that and keep it for later. Another equation we will get is from this right angle triangle. If we apply Pythagoras theorem on this triangle, we will get y squared plus 1 minus x squared equals 1 squared. Let's write that down. Let's expand this to 1 squared plus x squared minus 2x. And that gives us y squared plus 1 plus x squared minus 2x equals to 1. We can subtract 1 from both sides, and that gives us y squared plus x squared minus 2x equals to 0. Now I'm going to do a trick here and multiply the whole thing by 4, and you'll see why. We have 4y squared plus 4x squared minus 8x equals to 0. If you notice, 4y squared can be written as the square of 2y. Can you see what's going to happen next? We're going to substitute the value of 2y from here to this equation. And that gives us 2 minus x whole squared plus 4x squared minus 8x equals to 0. Now let's expand this term as well, and we'll get 4 plus x squared minus 4x plus 4x squared minus 8x equals to 0. Let's simplify this a bit. This x squared plus this 4x squared is going to give us 5x squared. This minus 4x and minus 8x is going to give us minus 12x. And we are going to get 5x squared minus 12x plus 4 equals to 0. Let's box that, and all we need to do now is to solve for x. This quadratic equation is of the form ax squared plus bx, where b is minus 12, plus c. And there are two ways to solve this. The first method is to apply the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is given by x equals minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac whole divided by 2a. Let's substitute the values, and we get x equals minus of minus 12 plus or minus square root of minus 12 squared minus 4 times a, which is 5, times c, which is 4, divided by 2 times a, which is 5. Minus times minus is plus, so that gives us x equals 12 plus or minus square root of minus 12 squared is 12 squared, which is 144, minus 4 times 5 times 4 is 80, divided by 2 times 5, which is 10. Let's first solve this term here. That gives us x equals 12 plus or minus square root of 64 divided by 10. The square root of 64 is 8, so we get x equals 12 plus or minus 8 divided by 10. So x is either 12 plus 8 divided by 10 or 12 minus 8 divided by 10. So x is either 2 or 2 divided by 5. Let's box this. Now there is another way to solve this equation which does not require us to memorize this scary looking formula, and that is factorization. Factorization means that we are going to break this quadratic equation into product of two linear equations. The trick to factorize any quadratic equation is to break this middle term into two parts in a specific way. We'll break this minus 12x into two parts, minus 10x and minus 2x, such that when you multiply these two terms together, it gives you the product of the first term and the last term, which is 5x squared and 4. So let's do that. Let's break this minus 12x into minus 10x and minus 2x. Now comes the fun part. Let's take out 5x from the first two terms and let's take out minus 2 from the second two terms. That gives us 5x times x minus 2, which becomes 5x squared, and 5x times minus 2, which is minus 10x, and minus 2 times x minus 2, which becomes minus 2x plus 4. And now we can take x minus 2 out from both of these terms here, and we get x minus 2 times 5x minus 2. And this is how you factorize a quadratic equation into product of two linear equations. The product of two linear equations is going to be 0 only if one of these terms is equal to 0. So either x minus 2 equals to 0 or 5x minus 2 is equals to 0. When you solve that, you get x equals to 2 or x equals to 2 divided by 5. So you get the same values of x from both these methods. Now clearly, since this whole line is 1 meter, x is going to be smaller than 1. So x cannot be 2, and our answer is x equals 2 divided by 5. But what does x equals to 2 mean? And why does x equal to 2 also satisfy our equation? Well, the only assumptions we make are that the square lies in the middle of these two circles, and the corners of the square lie on the two circles. We never really told the equation that x has to be less than 1 meter, right? And if you think carefully, there's another square that satisfies both these assumptions. And it's this square here. The side of this square is equal to 1 meter plus 1 meter, which is 2 meter, and the corners of the square are also on these two circles. So the equation does its job and finds us both of these squares. The left one corresponds to x equals to 2 divided by 5, and the right one corresponds to x equals to 2. And it's up to us to apply some common sense and reject this solution and accept this solution. Let's start from the beginning and label this side of the square as x. Let's drop a perpendicular from this point to the floor. Now if we draw coordinate axes such that this point is the origin, then this point becomes 0, 0, and we have an x-axis here and a y-axis here. Because the square lies in the middle of these two circles, the coordinates of this point are going to be x divided by 2 on the x-axis and x on the y-axis. So we have x divided by 2, x. And the coordinates of this point, which is the center of the right circle, are going to be 1 on the x-axis and also 1 on the y-axis. We also know that the line connecting these 2 points is the radius of the circle, and so its length is 1 meter. We can now apply the Euclidean distance formula, which says that if d is the distance between x1, y1 and x2, y2, then d squared is equals to x1 minus x2 whole squared plus y1 minus y2 whole squared. And that will give us 1 squared equals 1 minus x minus 2 whole squared plus 1 minus x whole squared. Let's write that down and get solving. If we expand these two terms, we will get 1 squared, which is 1, plus x divided by 2 whole squared, which is x squared divided by 4, minus 2 times x divided by 2, plus 1 squared, which is 1, minus 2x plus x squared. And this whole thing is equals to 1 squared, which is 1. Now this term simplifies to x, and we can subtract 1 from both sides to get rid of this 1 and this 1, and we get 1 plus x squared minus x minus 2x plus x squared equals to 0. Let's add both these terms to minus 3x, and we get 1 plus x squared divided by 4 minus 3x plus x squared equals to 0. Now let's multiply the whole equation by 4, and we get 4 plus x squared minus 12x plus 4x squared equals to 0. This 4x squared and this x squared will add up to 5x squared, and we will get 5x squared minus 12x plus 4 equals to 0. And the second method also gives us the same equation that we got from the first method. And we know that when you solve this, you will get x equals to 2 or x equals to 2 divided by 5. Let's not forget to calculate the final solution. We found out that x is equals to 2 divided by 5. Note that we need to find x squared. So x squared is going to be 4 divided by 25, which is equals to 0.16. And that is our final answer. Let me know in comments which method you like more and what problems you'd like me to solve next, and I'll see you very soon.